You already know. Somewhere deep in your gut, before a single word is spoken, you already know. The slight hesitation before the smile, the eyes that don't quite follow the mouth, the warmth that arrives too fast, too polished, too perfect. You already know, but you don't trust yourself. And that is exactly what they count on. Today, that changes. The oldest game in the world, human beings have been deceiving each other since the first campfire. Long before language had words for betrayal, the act of betrayal existed. And yet, here we are, thousands of years later, still being surprised by it. Still giving the benefit of the doubt to people who long ago decided exactly how they would treat us. Why? Because we were taught to look at what people say. We were raised on declarations, on promises, on grand gestures and explanations and apologies that arrive with just enough emotion to reset the clock. But philosophers have always known better. Heraclitus said it plainly: character is destiny, not intention, not words, not potential. Character, the fixed, repeated, demonstrated pattern of who a person actually is when the stakes are real and the audience isn't watching. So, how do you see it? How do you strip away the performance and touch the bone? You stop listening and you start watching. The first test: how they treat the powerless. Walk into any restaurant with someone you're evaluating. Order something simple. Then watch. Not how they treat you. That tells you almost nothing. You have something they want. Watch how they treat the waiter. Do they make eye contact? Do they say thank you? Do they speak to the server like a human being? Or like a function? A coffee-delivering mechanism with no interior life? This is not a small thing. This is everything. Because the way a person treats someone who cannot benefit them, cannot hurt them, cannot promote them or expose them, that is the uncensored draft. That is the face behind the face. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, the most powerful man in the known world, wrote in his private journal about the obligation to treat every person, slave, senator, soldier, with equal dignity. He understood something that manipulators never will. Power reveals, it does not corrupt. The cruelty was always there. The position just removed the need to hide it. So watch carefully. The person who performs generosity for an audience but ignores the invisible, you have just seen their true architecture. The second test: stress. People are actors in calm weather. Give them a comfortable scene, a familiar script, and almost anyone can appear patient, kind, reasonable. Character is not what you see at the dinner party. Character is what you see when the flight is delayed 3 hours, when the project falls apart on a Friday afternoon, when something they wanted is suddenly taken away. Here, the masks don't fall dramatically. They slip. Just a fraction. Just enough. A flash of contempt. A sentence that starts with blame and never arrives at accountability. A coldness that enters the room before they've said a word. These are the leaks, the pressure finding the cracks. Psychologists call it affect dysregulation. The rest of us call it revealing yourself. Because stress does not create a new person. It reveals the one that was always there, the one that good manners and self-interest kept hidden behind the performance. You don't need to manufacture a crisis to see this. You only need to deliver one small inconvenience. Change a plan. Raise a gentle objection. Ask a question they didn't expect. Then watch what the inconvenience costs them and what it suddenly costs you. The third test: what they say about others. Listen carefully when someone gossips to you, not because gossip is morally troubling, but because it is structurally revealing. If they speak about a former colleague with unrelenting venom, ask yourself, what will they say about me? If every ex-partner is a villain, every old friend a traitor, every employer a tyrant, you are not listening to a history. You are listening to a pattern. The scorpion and the frog. You know the fable. The scorpion asks the frog to carry him across the river. The frog hesitates. But you'll sting me? The scorpion laughs. Why would I do that? We both drown. Convinced, the frog agrees. Halfway across, the scorpion stings. And as they both begin to sink, the frog asks why. It is my nature, says the scorpion. The frog's fatal mistake was not kindness. It was ignoring the evidence of what the scorpion had always been. The scorpion didn't transform at the river. The scorpion was always a scorpion. The water just removed the incentive to pretend otherwise. When someone shows you, through their stories about others, that betrayal, exploitation, and abandonment are recurring themes in their life, believe the pattern, not the explanation. Because explanations are crafted, patterns are confessions. The fourth test: how they handle your success. This one is subtle. This one will cost you a friendship if you're not paying attention. Find someone who claims to care about you. Then succeed at something that matters. Get the promotion. Win the recognition. Announce the good news. And watch, not their words, because anyone can say congratulations. Watch their face in the half second before they compose it. The ancient Greeks had a word, phthyanos. We translate it poorly as envy. But it isn't merely wanting what you have. It is pain at your having it. It is the wound that your flourishing opens in them. Real allies expand when you expand. Their joy is not performed. It arrives ahead of the sentence, genuine and quick. But the hidden predator, the one who has positioned themselves close to you for proximity to your resources, your network, your light, they contract. Something tightens around the eyes. The smile is assembled rather than arrived at. They will recover in seconds. They are practiced. But you will have seen it. The half second before the mask returned to position. Do not unsee it. The fifth test: consistency in the dark. Who are they when no one is watching? This is the oldest question in ethics, from Plato's Ring of Gyges. If you could become invisible and act without consequence, who would you become? Plato argued that only a person of true character behaves the same whether observed or not. Everyone else is simply calculating the cost of being caught. You can test this without philosophy. Simply observe consistency. Do they keep promises when there's no longer any benefit to keeping them? Do they acknowledge the mistake when there's no audience to perform accountability for? Do they treat you the same when you are struggling as when you are useful? Consistency is not glamorous. It doesn't announce itself. It just persists. Quietly, reliably, in the same direction, through inconvenience and irrelevance. And the absence? Its absence is everything. Because a person who is generous only when it's visible, honest only when it's costly to lie, kind only when kindness can be seen, that person is not generous, honest, or kind. They are strategic, and strategy, unlike character, changes when the calculation changes. Ask yourself, has this person ever done the right thing when it cost them something and no one was watching? If you cannot name a single instance, you have your answer. The sixth test, the first boundary you set. This is the most important test of all, and most people never run it. Set a boundary, a small one. Say no to something unreasonable. Decline a request that crosses a line. Disagree openly with something they've said. And watch what happens next. A person of good character will absorb this without drama. They may push back. That is fine. That is human. But they will ultimately respect the line. Your sovereignty over your own time, your own standards, your own mind will not feel to them like a threat. But the manipulator, the person who has positioned you as a resource, a mirror, a supporting character in their story, they will not absorb the boundary. They will test it, probe it, punish it. The punishment will not always be loud. It may be silence, subtle withdrawal, a coldness that suddenly enters the relationship and is never explained, an escalation the next time, just to establish that your no has a prize. Robert Cialdini, in his work on influence and compliance, mapped the mechanics of this precisely. Certain personalities treat any resistance not as information, but as challenge. The boundary is not heard as, "This is where I end and you begin," but as, "Overcome this obstacle." A single boundary, set clearly, will sort almost every person in your life into one of two categories. The ones who respect it, keep them close. The ones who punish it, you now know what you're dealing with. The summary: stop listening to words. Words are the cheapest thing a person can give you. They cost nothing. They can be retracted, reframed, forgotten. They can be delivered with such warmth, such fluency, such apparent sincerity, that you mistake the performance of truth for truth itself. But behavior is expensive. Behavior requires commitment. Behavior, repeated across time, across contexts, across the moments when no one is watching, and no reward is available, that is the only testimony that counts. So watch how they treat the powerless. Watch who they become under pressure. Listen to the story their patterns tell about the people they've discarded. Look for the half second before the mask is assembled. Measure them against themselves in the dark. And then, most importantly, set a boundary and watch what it costs you. You don't need years to know someone. You need the right conditions. Stress, inconvenience, your success, your no. These are not threats to a relationship. They are diagnostic tools. The surgeon doesn't apologize for the incision. The incision is the information. Trust what you see. Stop negotiating with what you were told. The mask always slips. Your only job is to be watching when it does.